What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna? Definitely not this. Fuck out of here. Welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss Them, available right now on Amazon Prime, courtesy of Lena Waithe and Little Marvin. Now, I have never wanted to finish a series so quickly just so I can get on here and speak my truth. Before I get into every single thought I had while watching this series, and what I was expecting and what we totally did not get here, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that, and then we're going to come back and discuss all things Them. Not my ass. Them. Hopefully subscribe to see more of me. Let's get into this show. Now, in watching the trailer for this show, I was really excited. We have had many shows, in recent time that put horror elements to, black moments of trauma from the past, and it made it work. We get these, courtesy of like a Lovecraft Country, or the most recent work with like a Jordan Peele. Not saying that any of those are perfect, but it has a certain narrative and shines a certain light on some things that should be shined a light on. That's what I thought that we were getting here with, us going to the past with the Great Migration. Of course, that's, Southerners coming all the way from the deep Jim Crow segregated South and hoping for new things, new jobs, new opportunities, going up north, moving homes. Bang! Story writes itself. There's so much horror there to be told and to be put, in a series like this one. It was so much material to work with, and we could have went so many directions in getting our point across as to why this would even be horrific. We didn't get that here. We didn't get that here. Why? Let me start off with the positives, because there was some there. The casting. I love the casting. All the way down to the children. Children can be, a hit or miss with the casting of kids in movies and shows. The children here were great. I did remember the young lady from, the Us film. Here, I think she shined even more, and, she's one to watch. Awesome. All the casting, down from the wife to the husband to the very young Lulu Gracie. Beautiful. I haven't watched something in a very long time that wanted to say so much, but still managed to say so little. Now, the narrative here that was trying to be pushed, and that is pushed in, a lot of content like this that, wants to add on to, past traumas, dealing with race and racial tension and all those things. We get into moments like this where, the director or the writer goes, oh no, this isn't that story. We're going to add, these elements to it. And in the end, we get to win. We get to take this trauma back. We get to take these horrors back in this show. Not in this show. Where? We start off the show by following this beautiful black family who has clearly been through some trauma. We see some things happen with the wife, and we know that something happened with the son, because as they're traveling up north for this new job, for this opportunity, there's no baby in sight. And we spend a good chunk of the beginning of the series wondering and trying to figure out exactly what happened to the baby and the wife. And boy, when we figure it out, they was with the shits. Now, getting into this family, moving into this predominantly white neighborhood to Compton, Compton and Watts, which I guess was, like a play on today, like, oh, this is what Compton was then, but now we know y'all taking pride in moving and trying to be, oh, this is our place. You're coming in, you're tainting our town. This is our Compton. This is our Watts. It was, huh? We get into that and we meet the characters, all the white characters surrounding this black family. We get into every single white trope person that you would ever want to see. First, we move into this Stepford Wives, type of neighborhood, everything. I was like, okay, this is clean. We get into that and we get into meeting these people. Like, I'm sorry, y'all. The predictability of everything within this series was so overdone and tired and so predictable and so expected. So when things start to happen, it's like we've seen this story so many times and we know these stories. I mean, if you go and you know these things happen, about the separation and people of color and the housing department and how they went up on mortgages and pricing, and it was all these calculated things to keep black people out. And once they just couldn't do that, it just turned all of these well-do-off white communities, when they were majority black, they turned to shit. Predictable. Now, getting into this family, we follow this family through so much damn trauma. And it got to a certain point in this series where it was just like, oh, this is trauma just for trauma's sake, just for shock value, just to tell that audience, yeah, these things are happening. These things happened. And we're putting them in your face. We're throwing them back at you. But at whose expense? Now, you sit and you watch these things, for 10 hours. And it's, to go, hey, we're just, trying to persevere and push through with this family to the better. We never got to the better. And I'm sure that was, on purpose. But if we weren't never going to get to the better, did we really need all the trauma? Did we really need? Because there were horror elements there. The most horrific things about this was the trauma. The supernatural horror elements in the story were tired, predictable, jump scares, things we've seen, creepy, haunted, ghosts. The minstrel character, like, it did absolutely nothing for me and nothing for the story. So we have those small fragments of things going on in a backdrop of a family going through trauma, children dealing with trauma, a wife dealing with trauma, and a husband not listening to his children, not listening to his wife. The trauma was so heavy. Now, when the show starts and we see that, things being alluded to with the son and, with the wife, and then, moving to Compton and their baby not being there. And I saw those men coming up and, don't even get me into that scene, because Lil Mama was outside talking to crazy white woman for a little too long for my taste. I was like, girl, get in the house, get your baby, get your gun, protect yourself. Clearly she's not there while we having conversations with strangers, but whatever. Once I saw, those men roll up and it was just her, it's like, yeah, I saw your husband and I want your baby. Once we get to episode 6 and we go through that, really, like, I ain't need episode 6. I already knew, we know this story. We know this story. So I didn't necessarily need to visually see it played out in full for 30 minutes of a damn episode. We know what happened. We knew already. I knew already. So when we cut to it and we went back, and I was like, well, we're going to watch this again. We already saw this. But we actually see them go into the house. We actually see them, taunt this woman, rape this woman, and make her watch as this deranged woman plays cat in a bag with her infant son. At which we see this baby be tossed back and forth, and to the point that he's just dead. For what? Who was that for? Who was that for? There becomes a point where, and I'm not saying, brutal things don't need to be shown. I had the same damn argument with zillions of goddamn people in those comments wanted to tell me about that Billie Holiday biopic and what needed to be shown. But I could give two fucks. We didn't need this. We did not need this. We did not. After we had already seen so much suffering and the discontent within the family and them trying to move on and all of these things and not really knowing, but alluding to knowing. Not to say that we didn't want to know what happened, because we spent a chunk of the time, we want to know what happened, because it comes to a certain point where the husband doesn't actually fully know what all happened because the wife didn't, disclose all the details. But to play it out full that way, who was it for? I just want to know who was it for? Because I was so disgusted and so disappointed that someone else, two other people of color saw this and went, yeah, this is what we need. This is what they need to see. Why? We know about this. This is that same narrative of why people are feeling like they're tired of seeing so many slave movies. It really rubbed me the wrong way. I had all kind of air in my chest for that. And then we get into even more with the husband character and him and his PTSD with, coming from the war and everything that he's dealing with. But we still see this same man, though the whole series he is seeing, these entities around him at his workplace, in the home, that don't quite make sense to him, things that he know are unnatural. But when his children come to him and his wife, he doesn't want to hear it. This is our house. We live here. It's nothing. To watch the husband try to force the mother out of her trauma, and to have the narrative of, I need you to come back now. We need you. There are people depending on you, to rush her through what happened to the son. I was so upset, y'all. I was too upset. The fact that we see, the situation happen with the son, and, we have that whole scene, during the funeral and the grieving, and, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Like, the same, shit that we had with, the Paula, Joy Parker situation, and her coming, and, we have to get our children. You rather, sacrifice your children before, you let them get them. But the fact that that was just, some black woman, some black friend, some black relative at the funeral who said that the Paula Joy Parker, she was, an entity, the whole demon-esque thing that had been, sent to taunt the wife. But yeah, she said the same thing. I just feel like, maybe he's maybe Chester's in a better place now than being here. I get what you're trying to do. It's tired as fuck, but I get what you're trying to do. But when we get to how long, just the little girls watching and going, what's wrong with mama? I don't want to be like mama. But yeah, we've seen this woman be brutally raped and her infant son murdered in front of her. But we're rushing her, not only rushing her through her trauma, but then we hurry up and we're going to move away from the trauma. We're going to leave it. We need you to hurry up and be done with your emotions so we can get back to real life. We need you here. What happened to your body and with our son and our brother? Let it go. I really hated that little narrative to try to rush. You can't rush anyone past their hurt. allow people time to grieve, because honestly, the time span from when they actually moved to when things actually happened didn't seem very long at all. Get it out of my face. Then we get into the taunting of the husband. That damn scene with that pie. I know I'm all over the place, y'all, but just follow me. Like, what? I see now in finishing the series that they were trying to get us to understand that there was, an outside entities and, demons and all these other things, trying to force the family to do these things, like make her husband that pie, even though, he had trauma with the pie. That whole, him forcing himself to eat it, and the tears and the crying and her crying. And I was just like, just the direction of the show in general. Like, we already had, a lot of cheap jump scares going on, and very, cheaply CGI things happening, and ghosts, and, the bulging black eyeballs. And then we get into such emphasis being put on every little thing. A zoom in here, zoom out, a screeching noise, sounds and sound effects. Like somebody could just be, people are brushing their teeth, shaving, eating their cereal. And it is just like so dramatized. Like, they were trying so hard. They were trying so hard. No. But once we got into, the husband being all, emasculated in the workplace and not being respected as a black man, and him being, used as a trope, but they don't, like some affirmative action things going on, like, hey, I hired you. I took a chance on you. But, hey, don't go meet the boss. We don't need you to do that. We don't even want you to attend the party. We don't want you to do this. We don't want to be expected. So they're okay. When we get into the husband and his reactions to the community and the surroundings, and like, the scene where he was on the roof and him, nudging his hands and all that tension balling up like they were just 2 seconds from pushing him overboard. And us having to sit through, him continuing to, yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. Oh. And I was just trying to figure out, was the narrative to go, the family, pretty much damned themselves trying to align themselves with whiteness? Is that what you guys are trying to say here? That because we have a scene where, the wife, she just can't take it anymore after the young little bastard comes and pees on the sheets. And she goes, down, and, it's the whole black community, and it's just a joy to step off that bus, and she's amongst family and friends and all of these things. And it's just like, oh, we don't have to do that here. We don't have to, we walk around freely. It's all black here. It's all love here. But once she's there, it is just like such a switch, and she's not at peace, and it's just so horrible. So are you trying to say that the family trying to align themselves with whiteness as far as jobs and trying to be presumed as equal and live in a house, that was, that's what condemned them? What are you trying to say, and who are you trying to say it to? You can't just put these things out there and not have a firm grip on who it's for and what you want to convey to people, because people are going to pull from this and make their own assumptions. And some people are going to see this and eat this up as something just so amazing and so profound. And oh my God, I just got it. Whereas someone like me, I was upset and tired and pissed. Ugh. We don't stop there with the trauma. We also get into even more trauma courtesy of these 2 little cute black girls, their daughters. They spent an awful lot of time, to me, with Grace and really trying to make her fear her own mother. Just with the 2 girls in general, and making them fear their mom. And I don't want to end up like my mom. And you didn't see the dad or anybody else try to acknowledge the trauma she had been through. It was just, I don't want to end up like mama. She's crazy. I'm scared of ending up like that. And I didn't like what it said about, at sometimes being mentally unstable, or just about mental illnesses in general, and not dealing with trauma properly. It's just like she's been through something, and all we worried about is, I don't want to be like mama, though she, was a baby girl. Or even, just with her switching and her, trying to attack her with the axe. And it was just like, and then the oldest daughter, her just kind of creating this imaginary friend and talking to her, though we see that she's a ghost and she's another entity in her school and in her surroundings. And she kind of pulls her to want to be aligned with whiteness and have, white privilege, white skin, blue eyes, to the point that she paints her skin white. Once again, I see what you're trying to say, especially in the society of today and, the bleaching and the plastic surgery, and who is it for? Because for a little bit, as far as what I see today, people are trying to get more of this likeness with the tan skin, the full lips, the big butts. It's all alluding this way, not the other way around. But I see it. And then we spend a lot of time on the surrounding characters in their trauma, like the Anika Noni Rose character and her husband and her sons, and the previous Black families in the community that have now, killed their children or killed their husband and is now, in a asylum. But then when we get to our white counterparts in the series, first of all, we have the realtor and, the good cop, bad cop situation, where you can see a mile ahead that the good cop, like, there's something in this for you. So it was no surprise that he was working with the realtor, trying, get these people moved in and make them have, some sense of comfort, and then, flip it on them towards the end. We get into those characters, and we also get into Miss Betsy, who lives across the street. Getting into Miss Betsy and them trying to spend so much time to villainize her and make her that really strong presence in that community. Miss Betsy was all too concerned. She was the main, the other way, let's just let our husbands handle it, unless, oh no, we have so much talk of our, that infamous, our birthright. It's our birthright. It's our birthright. When we weren't spending the scene comparing Black women and Black men and Black children to monkeys and apes. There's so much of that. You monkey, you ape, you nigger. Seen it, heard it. Yeah, thanks. We spent so much time trying to villainize her and make her that, So when she, soundtrack was great. Soundtracks here, music was great. The play on the music that they tried to have with, that crisp, clean, fun, happy 50s music on the backdrop of this horror, and also having elements of like a James Brown when she finally slaps that white woman. It's like, yeah, mom, we beat their asses. We'll beat their asses. Dumbass white people. Oh, stupid bitch. Oh, I have to come. I'm going to come to your house right now because I'll slap a bitch. But we spend so much time villainizing her, and we have, symbolic things of, her house kind of rotting. And when she pulls that paper away, you see all this mold, and, it's all about the outside persona. And there's so much emphasis put on, her not actually having any kids. And all of this, we build up so much tension and so much dislike for this character. And then they try to kind of bring it down to where we have sympathy for her. Why? Who? Okay. Not only is she pretty much in this tired ass marriage, as where you clearly see that this husband is unhappy and he's a pushover, and she wants this dominance, she wants this voice, she wants, to have that claim, but you can't really do that at those times as, as a woman. Usually it was all about the husband. We get into following her to her home life to ask her father for money. And it turns into this whole incest, if you want this money, you have to have sex with your father situation. And it's never revisited again. It's never talked about. It's just supposed to be put out there as to why a Betsy character would be like she is, because she's had such a horrible life. And then we get into Betsy just being so upset. Everything she's done in the community hasn't worked. She's tried to, burn the nigger haven heaven whatever into the yard. We've hung all the mammy and black trope dolls in the yard, and they're still here. But after we get slapped, we just can't take it anymore, and we need a solution. At which we have been following her in this little tired thing with the milkman, and goes all the way to the milkman's land. And I just need you to do this for me. My husband isn't getting the job done, and he ends up kidnapping her and putting her in this bombing shelter on his property underneath the ground. And it's supposed to be like, oh, you were so busy worried about your closeness to blackness and, trying to brutalize these black people. You didn't see, a true enemy right in front of your face, this white man who really lured you here to kidnap you and force you to be his love, his wife, his interest. Why? When we've got all the way down to, him getting the rope and, are you going to do it now? Are you going to get them now? Because I want to be there to see that. But then once she's held captive and it's just like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. He's crazy. Were we supposed to go, oh, Betsy? Oh, not Betsy. Why? And then we have this, really freeing moment where she gets out and she's, running through the field and I'm about to escape and he shoots her. And even the really angry neighbor with the pregnant wife. What did y'all see when they had their little meeting of the minds of how to get those niggers out? And he's going, hey, we're going to get them out. It's going to be slow and steady and antagonize them. And that's what we're going to do. And then Betsy, stands up because her husband was done. He didn't want to be a part of that. Didn't show up to give this grand speech and, her thoughts that she wrote for him. It goes, no, we're going to do this. And it's our birthright. And we want to, we're going to lose everything that our fathers worked for. And this same man goes, we don't want to get violent. I don't want to risk going to jail. What the hell are you talking about, sir? When did anybody at that time have a concern for a black life to go, I don't want to risk being in prison because what I'm thinking about inflicting on this black family, I don't want to go to jail. That shit took me out. But he flips towards the end because, Betsy is captured and they think that it's, this black family and, they've done something. And he turns into, that evil, oh, we're going to get him. We're going to torture him. This is for Betsy. This is for our neighborhood. Something. And but we're made to, have a play on, trying to be sympathetic. Oh, he like me too. He has a pregnant wife. He has this. We have to be better than they are. This is after he's, broken into their house, knocked them out, harassed the daughters, made the daughter cook, point blank, guns at heads, fingers cut off, torture. We get into the alluding that the one, sympathetic white character that we're supposed to have, her husband, who's always there to try to rein them in. Oh, we shouldn't do that. Well, why would we do that? Well, maybe we should talk to him. Let's be civilized. He's only like that because he has his own secret agenda that he's trying to keep hidden, that he's actually gay. It's alluded to, him going and visiting gay bars and him, liking men and him, taking all the money out of their savings account. That's never mentioned again. But, there's him, rolling up and seeing, the black family and him about to shoot him in this. Oh, what were you doing in the basement with them anyway? What? And it's just, giving up. It's a stare down with the wife and him, spitting like, oh, I'm not like them. I'm not that kind of white man. I'm out of here. Tired. Now, in getting into the wife and Chester, we see her, carrying around this box with his initials on it. And you're assuming that they're just, his belongings in there, keepsakes. But we soon find out that the son's body is in there and she's been carrying it around this whole time, which means, she dug him up and put him in there. And she says, I just couldn't leave him. At which we get into her being committed to this asylum. And we get, lots of electroshock therapy and all these Black women being pretty much tortured. Then we get into the husband and his story and him being, taunted by this minstrel blackface character who's, telling him to go and do this. And, he's getting a gun and it's supposed to be really intense. Like, will he or won't he shoot someone and da-da-da. No, he does not shoot his boss or his wife or, go after that family. But he does kill, a white man who asked him, why was he in the neighborhood? And he also shoots that police officer. Why? What exactly did that add to the story besides trying to intensify the moment to go, he can, he is willing to kill somebody. He's so controlled that he can kill someone, who's next? But then we go right back into, pulling him in and him being, a loving father and him trying to save his children and save his wife. And him, I don't know where Betsy is, but I did just kill 2 people, but I don't know where Betsy is. And then just right at the point where I feel like, oh, the trauma is over now. We've seen what happened to the baby. We see what's going on within their marriage, the young lady's school, the we got the gist of it. Then towards the end, we get into the flashback of seeing, the covenant and where this ghost-like, spirit-like, demon-esque entity initially came from. We get into the throwback of this cult-like community and, him building this tall man that we've seen throughout the whole series. Building, this community of followers who feels like, he's the next Messiah and he's this and he can, God speaks through him. So whatever he says is what, God wants us to do. At which we see, some bystanders come and, they're Black, their wagon breaks down and they just, wind up in the community because he says, I'm open to, all races, all color to helping, anyone. And we see, even then the community around him is like, no, they don't belong here. They're Black. They're out of place. Why are they here? But hey, we're trying to dig for water. We're looking for water. This Black family comes. The Black husband finds water when we couldn't for so long. He's here for 2 days and finds water. It must be witchcraft. It must be evil because we're Christian. And since it's not us and it's that, then it's evil. At which we see the man start to see, the Black woman and the husband as, demon-like Black specimens. And it's just, evil. You've come to, tear down everything I've built. Now, mind you, prior to this, he just randomly found, a naked boy just in a field and, took him in. He never questions it or anything. And he's just there by his side the entire time. Once we accuse them, of witchcraft and all these things, and we instantly attack them, and we as an audience have to sit through not only a Black couple being attacked, but a pregnant Black woman being attacked, them being abused, taunted, eyes burnt out of the socket with these iron rods, and then they're hung and burnt alive. All of this just to say, because the wife gets up because she's so torn and she's like, you evil, you white, there's so much talk of white devils here. You evil, you white devil. I wish all of this upon you. How can you not just burst into flame with all of this, crazy stuff that you're spewing about me and my husband? At which we see the Bible burst into flames and the, community's like, oh, it's just like we thought. It's witchcraft. They're evil. And, you know, they do all these things to this couple. Mind you, the young man is sitting right there, and, you know, nothing comes of this. Everything burns down. Everything turns to shit, at which he leads him into this basement that is, you know, now this Compton home. And you see that this little boy can take all forms, all entities, pure evil. And, you know, tells the man, if you don't bring this type of energy to every black person that you come in contact with, I'm going to bring it to you. And they shake on it, and it's just that. And it's another instance of, you know, kind of like Betsy. She didn't see what was right up under her nose with the milkman. He didn't see, you know, the entity right underneath his nose with, you know, the white boy who was actually a devil in disguise who can take many forms. We end off with the wife, you know, we're trying to, you know, close everything, every door that we left open for these tragic stories for this family. That there was no happy ending for this family. So we tried to, you know, get everything done in episode 10, at which, you know, we're waiting, you know, as an audience, we're waiting on redemption. We're waiting on, you know, a safety net, because we see this family, you know, all this trauma and all these things in the past, currently, at which we see, you know, the dad, you know, brutalized, and, you know, he's strung up, and the girls are made to watch. And we get into the mom, you know, breaking out of the institution to save her family. And, you know, this fire coming around the house, and them finally seeing things for what they are. And we have these grand speeches with the minstrel character, and, you know, him wiping off the black face, and also with her going, you know, hey, I see you, with, you know, the tall man in the basement. I see you. You're not this. As to say, you know, I'm taking away your power. And then, you know, step outside into the forefront, you know, with the firearms and all the angry white people, as to say, we're not afraid and we're not running. We stand here strong as a family unit. And it goes off. What happens after that? Do they open fire and kill all of them? Because that would be the normal thing. I'm just not quite understanding what that was supposed to do for us with this long, intense journey that we went on. The story for me didn't do much. The backdrop around what was really going on in this story, just the plot in general, was really paper thin and really repetitive as far as what we've seen already. Even, you know, the horror tropes were really, you know, they're overdone, overused. And the payoff that they were trying to give us as an audience against what we had to endure and see to get there, it didn't feel like much. It didn't feel warranted. I didn't feel like we conquered anything. I didn't feel like I was any stronger with this family than when we started. It just felt like it was a lot of horrible things put on screen to take us where? Nowhere, because we didn't go anywhere. Little Marvin needs a big ass whooping. We just ended with countless things that I just did not like about this series. I didn't like how the mother was treated. I didn't like how her trauma was treated. I didn't like having to see both this couple endure so much, especially the mom, and then on the father's part, even though he knows what she's endured and he's enduring the same things and seeing some of these same entities, to know that something is wrong here, he still brushes it off and doesn't listen to his wife. I really didn't like the story, you know, with the young girl in high school, just on the backdrop of her, you know, not even being able to confide in her parents that, hey, I'm having a tough time. But it's like, why do we even have to confide in them that? Like, a lot of things here were just why. Like, why is this family not moving to this neighborhood expecting the worst? Why are we having to ask our daughter, how was school, honey? How did it go? Did they love you? Did you thrive? Were they kind to you? Of course not. Or the mother, you know, storming into the babies, you know, in kindergarten, and, you know, getting her, and she said, you know, I don't think this is school for you. You're damn right. We don't belong here. We know that. Or the dad just being so shocked at work that, oh, you guys don't respect me? I'm not honored here as an employee and as a person? You're ashamed of me? You don't want me talking to the boss? Of course not. They never do. So when it happened here, but we just continue to see just everything intensify, and, you know, as far as, the mom and the right neighbor Betsy, everything just intensifies and it's going to boil over with that community. Everything intensifies with the husband and his job and the neighbors, and it's going to boil over. And when it actually boiled over, the black family endured most of the suffering. Still. Like, we know this story all too well, so we know what really would have happened to that family. And I felt like there was so much room. We got a little bit, when the realtor came in and she was sitting, on the board with the other people in charge, and they were doing everything by color and showing that infamous map of who's going to be where, and this is why we're doing what we're doing. Outside of that, we didn't discuss it anymore. We didn't discuss the strong dynamics that those things played, and to why people, black people specifically, people of color, are why they are where they are today as far as living situations, courtesy of that put into motion. It was just said, and it was like, oh yeah, we're going to do this, and if they moved out, it's a win-win situation, and we're going to put them in company, ha 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 ha. Oh, we're so evil. Cute. Give us something else. Give us some more of that. We didn't get any more of that. Everything else was just torture and sinister looks, and oh my God, if someone did this one more time, it was just made to be so dramatic and so intense for no reason. For us to end off, with a grand, slap to the white woman's face, to some James Brown. For us to end off with the husband killing two white men, a cop and the guy on the street. For us to end off, with the daughter, a standoff with the ghost, and cutting her face and all of this, and realizing, hey, it may not be, such a bad thing to, not want to be like my mom. My mom's great. My mom's going through something. I'm coming into acceptance. And then the payoff with the Miss Vera character that we hear about so much in this whole series, and the baby girl. You'll never be like my mommy. And she and then that grand, minstrel, what you gonna do? We end off with him, shooting him in the head, and you're not me. You'll never be me. As to say, we know what that trope was back then and what it is now to be, them putting on the blackface and trying to be like those, beautiful tap dancers and things of that time. But those dancers couldn't even get on stage, so they had, white dancers put on blackface to entertain white people. You'll never be me. You'll never be like me. Okay. For what we had to endure for 10 episodes, the payoff was just not worth it. And not just stimulating at all. It was quite repetitive, quite boring, quite predictable. I was over it. By episode 5 and 6, I was over it. Well, you guys, that was my review of them. As you can see, I didn't really care for the series at all. Will I be watching in the future when they get, green lit for a second season? Because I'm sure they will. Probably not. It's not something that I'm willing to sit through and review yet again with what we got here. I don't see any potential for anything to come in the future. Clearly, Little Marvin, who is the writer and, at hand in producing and all of this to this is, his love child. He had a certain vision of what he wanted to convey here. So whatever he has to convey in the future, I'm not interested. Please drop down and tell me what you thought about this series. Will you be watching, in the future? Let's get the conversation going. I am clearly disappointed. I see you guys next time. Bye.